Right, class, I had some very good conversations going on there in your pairs. Well done, well done. I heard Samuel Slater, George III, Charles Dickens. You all chose prominent characters from the book and from that reading that you heard earlier. And what I want to do now is to introduce you to a new technique that you can use. Some of you may be a little bit familiar with this if you've used Google Docs and Google Slides a lot at home. But this is something you can do in Google Slides, and it's very closely related to the reading and listening that we've had in this lesson from Bricks Who Shaped America, because you'll remember that at the beginning of the class that I showed you some slides of one or two of the characters who you were going to hear about. And one of them was George III, the King of England, throughout the Revolutionary War. And I mentioned you would have heard in the listening that he was the one who finally signed the Treaty of Paris in 1783. That was the last moment of the war. It was essentially the king being the last person to accept that the war was over. And I showed you this slide here he's gone back now, so let's go back to him. There he is. I showed you this slide of George III in his throne room in London with a flourish of his quill pen about to sign the treaty that was going to end the war. And you'll probably have realised that this was, well, you may not have realised that this was not an expensive ancient artwork, but this was the work of Google Images, Google Slides, and the AI bot that supports Google Slides. So I'm going to show you what I did, because I'm going to ask you in this next part of the lesson to create your own slides. I'm going to ask you to open Google Slides on your laptops and devices, and to see if you can create a slide for your own character that you've chosen. So let me just demonstrate then what I did, because if we go to the setup function, you will see that on the side here you've got support from Google Gemini, and that's their AI bot. So if you go into the box here, you'll let's create an empty slide at the beginning of Google Slides. And then you can go into Ask Gemini, which is down here in the bottom right-hand corner. There it is. And type in your instruction. So what I did was to say, create a landscape slide for me that will fill the whole slide frame of George III, King of England, about to sign the Treaty of Paris in 1783 in his throne room in London. So I typed that in, clicked return, and it took Google Slides about 20 seconds to come up with this image. And then if I put that on slideshow again, you'll see, there it is. There he is. Wasn't that brilliant? So I think this is a very good way of potentially illustrating your talks, and also making them more memorable, because as I was saying at the beginning of the lesson, words and ideas are that much more memorable if you can support them with pictures. So what I'd like you to do now, having opened Google Slides on your devices, is to choose a character. It could be the character you've just been talking about in your pairs, because that will be most familiar to you. Okay, and come up with a slide of your own. I want you to do this all independently. I'll walk around the class and we'll see how you get on. If you need any help, or whether you can do this yourself. You'll have up to 10 minutes to do this. So if you don't get it right the first time, then try it again. Put the instructions in again, ask Google again. It doesn't mind. It's very patient, Google Slides. It will keep redoing, and you can ask it to edit the slide that you've made that it is made for you if it needs any amendments. All right, any questions? Fatima, yes. Yeah, you've got up to 10 minutes and you can choose the character that you chose for your pair to talk about in your pairs. Yes, you can. And if you want to choose somebody else, you can. So for example, it could be, you can choose George III if you like, but it'd be interesting if you could choose another one. So it could be Samuel Slater, the father of the Industrial Revolution. You could have him standing by his water frame, looking proud in his brand new factory at Pawtucket in Rhode Island. You could ask Google to do that for you. Or it could be Charles Dickens on his tour of America as a young man in 1842. He was 29. So you need to ask Google Slides to make him a young man, not an old man, which is what most of the pictures of him are. Yeah. Yes, you can have Florence Nightingale, Juliet. Yeah, Florence Nightingale. So you might want to say, Google Slides to Google Slides, make me a slide in landscape format of Florence Nightingale in Scutari holding her lamp as she does her night rounds of the wards of injured soldiers, something like that. Or you could have her in old age, which is a more familiar picture of her, more familiar image. Yes. Yes, Masood, you can also have Oscar Wilde. Yeah, Oscar Wilde. So Oscar Wilde, that tour was in 1882 when he came to New York and then did his tour of America. Yeah, okay, so there you have it. I'm going to walk around. If you have any questions, let me know and let's see how you get on, and then we can share those slides at the end of the session.